In a world where carbs are your enemy, you need one man to help you fight your battles. That man is Jimmy.
Combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
How do you know if you are doing keto well? It's as simple as KETO. K is for keep carbs low, which means to consume less than 50 grams daily and then adjust accordingly to your individual carbohydrate tolerance level. E is for eat more fat, since it is the primary fuel source providing satiety for the body when you cut carbs. T is for test ketones often, using blood or breath devices to know where you stand in your pursuit of ketosis. O is for overdoing protein is bad when it is consumed well beyond what the body needs. So the next time you wonder whether or not you are eating a well-formulated low-carb, high-fat, ketogenic diet, just remember KETO.
Simplified short-form keto videos found exclusively at ketowhiteboard.info. Watch it, share it, live it.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live, and we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, if you want to engage live in the content, you need to go follow me over on Instagram Live. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live, just like Brittany and Beth and Mama's Going Keto, AK Shaw, so many people, Britt, Anita, all you guys are coming in right now. Thank you for being here on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, though, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours. After 24 hours, you will need to go over to YouTube. That's where we house all the past episodes of this here show. So type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show. Finally, the best of the best moments of this here show is in podcast form. It's the Jimmy Rants podcast over on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher. All of these links, you guys, are at JimmyRants.com. Today's Jimmy Rants, I'm a little old school because I'm in my car, I'm on vacation, so I wanted to do this one where I could speak loudly and not disturb people around me. So that's why I'm in my car again, so don't freak out if that's you people that think I'm crazy doing this in my car. But anyway, today's Jimmy Rants is another one of those questions that I want to ask you publicly, because I think sometimes we get so caught up in what we do in the day-to-day that we don't stop and think about these kinds of things. And have you ever wondered why people believe what they believe about diet and health? And before a lot of us do keto, that follow me, a lot of you guys do keto, before you started doing keto, why did you believe what you believed? And it really gets to a deeper issue of education, a deeper issue of trust. How many of us have trusted what we've always heard? How many of us thought cutting fat was the prudent thing to do? Why did you believe that? You believed it because there were people in authority positions in terms of diet and health that said that that was a good thing to do in your diet, right? And so if you believed it because of it, and if you thought cutting fat was a prudent thing to do because you heard other people doing it, were you believing that? Or were you just trusting of the information? And I think this gets to the root of why some people still just don't get keto, because they're so trusting of the authorities that are in place, and all of those authorities telling them that you're going to have all these bad things happen to you, even though the reality is, for those of us that do keto, the reality is most of the fear mongering about eating fat, about cutting carbs, about eating this way, especially when it's done in real whole food style, a lot of it is based on a whole lot of nutting. And yet people still have this deep-seated faith and trust in the people that are educating them. So if you're just joining us, what we're talking about here today is, why do you believe what you believe about diet and health? And I'm talking primarily right now about why people believe cutting fat's a good thing, eating healthy whole grains is a good thing, all of these kinds of things. But let me flip it a bit. Why do you believe in keto? If you eat keto, you obviously have bought into it. Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you think fats aren't going to hurt you anymore? Why do you think carbohydrate restricting isn't going to make your brain explode because you're not getting enough glucose? Why have you embraced this? And I think this gets to the heart of our job, all of us that eat this way, of trying to educate other people. How do you get people to understand your mindset when you talk to them? And trust me, that's the daily battle that I try to deal with myself, in terms of educating you guys, coming on here on Jimmy Rants and trying to articulate this stuff. How do you get people to get where you are in their understanding? And if we could figure that out and make it some kind of a formula, which there isn't one, by the way, because everybody's going to come at this from their own particular perspective. It's just like anything else in life. Your past experiences influence how you believe and what you believe here today. And so if you believe that you had an uncle die of a heart attack because he ate butter every day, then that's going to be a deep-seated belief in your head that tells you butter leads to heart attacks. And so very philosophical thinking here. And I want you to really put on your thinking caps of, why do you believe what you believe about diet and health? Now, a lot of you will say, okay, because I've seen it help me lose weight. I've seen it change my blood markers. I've seen how I feel, and how my energy levels have changed. If you had type 2 diabetes, I've seen my need for diabetes medications to completely go away. Those are all tangible things that you can see that convinced you. And when you started keto, you wanted, probably most of you wanted one thing, and one thing right away, as quickly as you possibly could get it from keto, and that was weight loss. I think that's very natural. We all want that when we first start. But then once the weight loss slowed, what kept you believing in keto? Well, that's when you shifted over to the health markers, and that's when you shifted over to how do I feel, and that's when you shifted over to, oh, that ache and pain I used to have in my joints has now gone away. Those are the things that convince you. So that can influence what you believe about diet and health and why you believe it. So you've seen it in your own self, you've seen it in your family members, you've seen it in friends. But let me caution you. It's very tempting to just say, well, I did very well on it, and I feel great on it, therefore it should be for everyone. And I've made this very clear many times. Just because keto works for you doesn't mean we need to say that everybody needs to do it. And we've seen this happen with pretty much every diet modality out there. The vegans are notorious for it. Well, everybody needs to go vegan because I got better. Look at how my body changed. Look at all this stuff that happened for me, and that had happened for you if you just go vegan. And so that mentality, I think, is so 1980s at this point. I think people are becoming more and more convinced that this whole bio-individuality thing, that there is no one set diet for all, that we all need to find what works for us. And I would argue, make real food the template regardless of your chosen plan. There is no health that comes from a package. Health will come from consuming real whole foods and embracing that as a lifestyle, whether you're vegetarian, vegan, Mediterranean diet, paleo diet, keto diet. All of them should be predicated on real whole foods. All right, off my soapbox on that one for a second. But if you're just joining us, why do you believe what you believe when it comes to your diet and your health. And I think a lot of people live their lives trusting inherently in what they've been told about these things. Otherwise, how would the low-fat diet have gotten such a foothold beginning in the 1980s, and even to this day, people still fear fat? Why do they believe that? Because they've always believed it. But people are like, well, the evidence all shows. Can I just be honest? In the real world, most people don't pay attention to scientific evidence. I know we all want to pretend like that everybody is a scholar at looking at the research. No. If Oprah Winfrey came out and said something, they're going to believe that before they believe a study. If a celebrity comes out and says, oh, this is what I'm doing, they'll get all enamored by that, but they won't look at the research. And so we have this notion of people should understand this abundantly now, and that what they believe is all based on the scientific fact. And no, it's not. Most of the time, it's some personality that's in their life. It's some person that's really close to them, be it a friend, a family member, somebody. And that experience that either they have personally or with this friend or family member or coworker in their life is going to determine what they believe when it comes to diet and health. Oh, I saw this person in my job. They went vegan and they lost 50 pounds and they look good. And blah, blah, blah. So therefore, veganism is good. And so you kind of shape your belief based on your own life experiences. So then how do you reach those people to help them when things don't go right in their diet and their health? That's the challenge, because we all have these things we just believe. And for the longest time, I believed that cutting your fat was the way to lose weight. I believed that eating whole grains was the way to get healthy. I believed that you had to go to the gym and work out on the treadmill, walking, reading a magazine, walking on a treadmill for an hour in order to get fit. All of these things were beliefs that were not based on anything that I'd researched. It was just based on what I believed, based on culturally what was the accepted norm. Now with keto is definitely not the accepted norm. So if you figured out keto and you came to this way of eating because you did your own research and read up on it and all of the things that got you to keto, you're going against the trend, against the grain, so to speak, all pun intended. And that's hard. If you figured out keto and that it worked for you, it wasn't because you got a positive experience with it from the mainstream media and from health professionals and doctors and dietitians. You didn't hear from them. You figured it out on your own. You listen to this wackadoodle guy, Jimmy Moore, talking to you here on Jimmy Rants. That might have convinced you. But even then, you hear me say things, I want you to vet it out. I don't want you to believe me at face value. Anything I say on this show, please go do your own personal research, look into it, see if it makes sense, see if it has veracity, and then apply what you've learned. I don't want you to take anything I say at face value. I want you to think, number one, if I do a Jimmy Rants and you don't think, I've failed as your host of this show. My job is to uplift you and encourage you and then give you something to think about. And if something I say doesn't sound right, go do your research on it. If something I say intrigues you and you're like, oh, that can't be true, I want you to go research it. Go look it up. Go figure out what's right for you. So the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants is, why do you believe what you believe about diet and health? And I hope it's not just this blind faith in what you've heard, and instead it's vetted out through your own personal research so that you understand why you're doing what you're doing and what the consequences are, both good and bad, from doing what you're doing. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Welcome in, welcome in. Thanks for being here today on Jimmy Rants. And yes, this is 2 in one day while on vacation, so you're welcome. Bullock in 2018 just interrupted me watching your previous Jimmy Rants from earlier. Yeah, I did one at about 7 a.m. Wasn't sure if I'd be able to squeeze in another, but the people we're staying with wanted to go jet skiing, and Christine and I weren't interested in that, so we're letting them go do that. And I'm Jimmy Ranson, so you guys get a bonus episode. Val says, probably partly what I was taught, but now mostly because I know by experience. Yes. Yeah, I think a lot of people, once you get introduced to the keto message, it's so radically different from what the mainstream norm is that you have to really kind of take it in chunks and take it in waves that, okay, eat more fat. Okay, okay. And you don't really believe it fully right away. Most people. Some people dive right in and go, yeah, all the fat you can give me, which is the wrong answer too. But other people, it just takes them a little time. So you add to the knowledge. When I started on the Atkins diet, it was just keep the carbs low. Then I added in the real food element. And then I added in kind of more of a paleo style without all the carbs. And then I shifted over to nutritional ketosis. And lately I've been doing kind of more of an animal-based carnivore type of diet. That's the progression that has happened for me. And a lot of people have that same kind of progression in their knowledge and understanding. And I believe what I believe about diet and health from many years of investigating, researching, learning myself more and more and more how food impacts my body. Keto Couple 333, it used to be media and then it turned to more study-based, but ultimately it has turned to believing in how I feel. Exactly. How you feel is an underrated way of measuring how you're doing with your diet and health and what you believe. Because if you feel good with what you're doing, why would you not believe that that is, whatever that is a good thing for your body? Now, if you start to feel aches and pains and you feel dragging and energy and you're not losing weight and you have all these negative things happening in your health, then why would you believe that what you're doing is a good thing? You wouldn't. And let me flip the script on this one a little bit too, because there's some people who embrace a keto lifestyle, for example, who don't feel optimal. They feel like they lack energy. They're not getting all the big changes in their weight that they're expecting. And so they have expectation levels of keto, but then at the same time, they're also very stressed in their life. They've had traumatic things happen in their lifestyle. And so from a lifestyle perspective, things aren't right, even if the diet is dialed in. And so then they transfer how they feel and all the things that are the ramifications of the stress in their life to the diet being the culprit behind those things. So then they say, well, keto failed me and keto's a bad thing for your health because of how they feel. And yet it had nothing to do with keto at all. So that's a challenge as well when you're talking about these kinds of things is, what is it that's giving you that ability to feel better? And how is that impacting what you believe about your diet and health? Something else to think about. You hear something often enough, you believe it. Yeah, Mariposa, exactly. Cut your fat, cut your fat, cut your fat, cut your fat, cut your fat. And we've heard it our whole lives. And that's what people believe. I do think that's changing finally, but that is what people believe. Alicia says it just makes sense. Well, yeah, it does once you've experienced it. I do think there is this kind of magic formula of when you try something and you see results. I'm sorry, I'm getting an ambulance or a fire truck or somebody coming by. There it is. Fire truck. When you learn about something and then you apply it and then you start seeing results, then you believe. But what if you learn about something, you hear about all these stories, people, oh, I've lost weight, I've gotten healthy, and then you try it and then you don't get those results, you're going to think that is a failed plan. And again, you could have the monkey wrench of some lifestyle issue going on. Val says, I was a child of the 60s and the youngest child in my family, a born rebel. Always question. Yes. Not everybody questions though, Val. you and I are definitely cut from the same mold. I question everything. But not everybody. There's a lot of people that are extremely trusting in everything they hear. Keto cured my husband's type 2 diabetes in just 6 months. Yeah, Mary Posa. I believe it. Bess says, because the proof is in the pudding, I've never been able to feel well while eating any other way. I think experientially is a big way to solidify your belief in something. And so if you're getting results from keto, it's hard to deny that it's the right thing for you. Beth says it's no longer about being skinny as the goal. My brain works best now, and there are so many NSVs that are irrefutable to count that add up to health. Yes. Bonnie says, because I've been through many diets and have eaten crappy to compare, keto's been the best feeling for my body. Having fibromyalgia, brain fog, no other diet has given me clarity. That's awesome. George says 2 years eating keto, lost and maintained 145 pounds, freedom from the constant hunger and food cravings, mental, emotional, physical improvements, research, test, and evaluate. Yes. Always, always, George. Sharon says, anyone have rheumatoid arthritis, been on keto a while and saw a big cut in joint pain? So, yeah, a lot of people do see that improvement. And that's a big part, too. If you have some kind of an ailment that's causing you pain, and then you go keto and that pain goes away, it makes you think, oh my gosh, why have I not heard about this before? Why don't my rheumatologist tell me about this? And I think what keeps people believing in the low-fat lie, as I like to call it, is they're not getting reinforcement of anything else but the low-fat lie from the medical profession, from dietitians, from the media. All of them are saying all these positive things about low-fat, 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 meat's bad, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, in the real world, people are getting better by raising their fat, by cutting their carbs. Bullock in 2018, I was ignorant of the low-fat dangers, learned the science of LCHF at the Low Carb Houston event, also watching a faithful Weight Watchers diet follower now in end-stage Alzheimer's. People, our brains need healthy fats. Yes. Jason Fung did it for me, says Mary Posa. Yeah, Jason, and you know, if you want to listen to what people say, I think that's great. People have said Keto Clarity really changed their minds as it came to keto and helping them understand. But I hope it just whets your appetite to then go learn more. Living, Listen Healthy. Prior to keto, I naively trusted the government, the docs, the authorities knew what they were talking about. We all did, Liz. We all did. I think we all thought that this was well-vetted science. Here's the dirty little secret. When they came out with the dietary guidelines in 1980 and they said that low fat was the way to go and eat lots of healthy whole grains and blah, 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 everybody thought that had to be really vetted out science and it was sound. We've never, ever had any scientific research of value. And you guys have heard me talk about this before. Randomized controlled clinical trials are the research of value I'm referring to. Low-fat diets have never shown a benefit in that kind of a trial. It hasn't. And yet it's still pushed as the grand poobah of your health. Always question and be willing to be an N=1. Yes, Beth. Daria says, I'm trying to spread the low-carb, high-fat info in Spain. It looks like the locals are not ready to receive this info. Well, keep at it, Daria. Keep at it because they need it probably now more than ever before. Liz says, when I got hypertension at 35, I freaked out, changed my ways because I didn't want to be on medication. That's a good motivation. Lisa says, I'm sure going to miss these rants when you take your break. Well, I'm here for a few more months. I know I'm slowed down a little bit while I've been vacationing lately, but when I get back from the low-carb cruise and a couple of other events in June, late June all the way until I leave on my sabbatical in September, I will be all Jimmy Rants all the time. So you'll have lots of stuff. Thank you. It's changed my life physically, mentally, and emotionally, says Lone Star Keto Girl. Thank you, Shubhu. Appreciate that compliment. I wonder how many gallbladder operations are being done now with the low-fat diet. Oh, Sam, it's a biggie. I don't think people understand why their gallbladder peters out on them. If you don't eat fat in your diet, you will have to have your gallbladder taken out, because your gallbladder needs fat to stoke the bile production, and if not, it starts to get sludgy and you start to have issues and pain. Why do people not get that? Because they're not being told. They're not being taught. Kimberly says, I've lived out my health and know now what works for my body. I am my own advocate. Because you're a smart one. That's why, Kimberly, you're a smart one. You're pretty smart. You should go online and start podcasting or blogging. Why am I doing my southern accent? I don't know. Just came out. So, guys, the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants, why do you believe what you believe about diet and health? Have you ever stopped and thought about that? What is it that you have convinced yourself in your head about why you believe what you believe when it comes to these things? And I think a lot of people stay stuck in the sad diet mentality because they don't want to think about why they believe what they believe about diet and health. They would choose to just kind of go through the motions of life and go through the day to day and not really have to think about these kinds of things. And if that's you, can I urge you, please think about these things? Because your life and your health depend on it. And I think that's what has brought so many of us into the fold of keto, or whatever your chosen diet is that's working for you. It's why you do this. It's why you're here. It's you've learned to give a crap for probably the first time in your life. Because it was very obvious when I was 400 plus pounds, I didn't give a crap about anything I was putting in my mouth. I was putting literal crap in my mouth. And I paid the consequences for that. Katrina says, sometimes I'm ashamed that I bought into crap like Weight Watchers. Keto just works for me as well as my mom. She is using it now to combat her breast cancer. Katrina, you're not alone. We all were there. I think you come to the point where you stop being so trusting of authority and you start doing your own research. And I think all along, if everybody had to do their own research of their own bodies and making a decision about what to do for themselves, if everybody took that mentality, the low-fat diet would go away very fast. There would still be some people that would do it because it would be the right diet for them at the appropriate time, but most people would move away from the conventional wisdom about diet and health, being low-fat, healthy whole grains, exercise till you drop, yada, yada. All of that would go away. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live in the content. If you missed the live, though, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours on Instagram. After 24 hours, pop on over to YouTube. You can type in a keyword Jimmy Rants on YouTube. You'll find all the past episodes, 330 something and counting now, you guys. So go catch up. If you missed it on YouTube, we do make a podcast out of this as well. It's the Jimmy Rants podcast over on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher. All of these links, you guys, are located at jimmyrants.com. So until next time, we'll see you then.